back, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
How's your day going? Alrighty, so let's get started. We're going to talk about, so yesterday we talked a little bit about the 80-20 principle and the critical few, and this is continuing on and explaining this. And I want to ask this question. Why would a slight shift in the hero's internal state, and then we give a couple of words as an example of the internal state, like confidence, motivation, positivity, passion, love, happiness, etc. Why would a slight shift in your internal state have a monumental impact on everything else in your life? So does it have a monumental impact? And if it does, why? And why just a slight shift would have a monumental effect? So here I am asking my questions because this is my style of learning, but you're going to have a different style of learning. So take the text and learn it in the way that you would learn best, and keep notes in your guidebook and think about your hero, think about who you're going to be teaching it to, or the way that would make the best sense to them.
And remember Stacy's, when she talked about when you're trying to learn a new word, forming an association that connects that word, but these are new, if they are new ideas, if it's a different pattern of thinking, a way of thinking, one of the ways you can make sense of the ideas is to ask the kind of questions she asks. So that's one of the reasons she does that method. When you're looking at how do I break down a brand new way of thinking, or if you're trying to understand someone's perspective that's completely different than yours, you find ways to connect and see what's different and what's the same until it makes sense. And so that's one reason she uses all these questions.
Another reason I use the questions is because when there's a word that you already know, you already feel like you understand what this word means, then you won't really inspect the definition of the word if you just feel like you know what it means. But I'm using words in this book very differently than the traditional way. There are a lot of words, like when we talk about context, there's so much meaning in that word that it's not there just in a natural dictionary definition.
You have to build it in.
Yeah, and I tried to make this book as compact as possible, so the ideas are just like dense, compact, so each word is there for a reason. And so you want to ask, why is this word here? What does it mean with all the other words around it? How does this word give me more insight into what the concept is saying? And instead of just taking the meaning that you already have, that's why another reason why I love to ask questions is to say, is there something about this that I don't know yet? Like the way that it's worded. It helps you understand if you take a kind of pull apart each word in context and say, why is it there? So like when we talk about a slight shift in the hero's internal state, like just thinking, what does a slight shift mean? What's the hero's internal state? What is internal state? What do I know about internal state? What exists in my internal state? Like here I am, right? I'm asking all of these questions. That's how I do it. I just pull it apart and pull it apart. And another thing that I do that I haven't really done with you guys is I pull it apart into like tons of pieces. I break everything up into tiny little pieces. And then what I do is I look at the big picture, and some people will call it a mess because it's all of these different pieces. And I look at it and I try to find the most simple way of looking at it. And that simple, like taking a very small lens and just looking at it and just seeing what still fits. If I look at it with the most simplistic view, what still fits? And then go, oh well, that won't fit, that won't fit, that won't fit. And then try it again with a different way of looking at it. So a lot, you know what this is like, because I come to you and I'm like, okay, I know, this is just the way I learn, and it won't make sense to you, but just, I want to say, what I'll do is I'll say a sentence that is incredibly limiting and say, this is the way that it is, even though I know it's not the way that it is.
She's testing it.
I'm testing it. And
if
then,
it were this way, but she says this is the way it is to see what happens after you run it. Keep going.
Yeah, this is the way that it is, and then just to see what still fits in it and what doesn't fit in it. And so, like, I have so many of these, and me telling you the specific things wouldn't necessarily help you, because what it's doing is it's just creating a very narrow lens to see what fits and doesn't fit, so that I can understand how things work together. And one example of this is just taking everything away, which is kind of scary. It's kind of like, and I'm not recommending you do this, maybe it's a more further along the path, but I'm just giving it as an example. Take everything away and say, I don't know anything right now. what would I like to have? What beliefs and things would I like to have, and what ones serve me? What ones make the most sense? What creates the kind of world I want to create? And then look at it and go like, I can put anything in there. Just to inspect it and be curious about it. Do I want it there? Do I not want it there? What are the effects? And then trying out different things. It's just playing. You just play with the ideas, and you don't feel like you can't go back. Don't feel like just because you did it, you can't go back. You can go back, and you can pick the best ways for you. So.
And then once she figures out, this is just one more step in her process. Once she has taken things apart and tested things out and to see what worked and what didn't work, once she comes up with a concept that is working as an improvement, as an upgrade, then she comes up with a way to simply represent it that you can hold on to. And that might be something that you look to do in your guidebook, in your translation is, okay, I've made it make sense now. How do I hold on to this? What's a way to encapsulate it in a simple form that I can hold on to?
Yeah, one word, and it can be a made-up word like selfishness or chocolating
you can
or
see
yogurting.
some evidence. You can see evidence in the book of how she's done
Likey
things
shoes.
like this. Yes. Yeah, it's a complex concept, likey shoes, dropped into 2 words with a story to help it make sense. And then she used that in application, which we're not doing yet. But then the way she applied it was profound. And that's where it was huge. Like, it seems like just a simple story, but when the way she applied it was profound, and we'll talk more about that in stage 3.
Yeah. So
Okay.
thanks, guys.
All right, see ya.
Bye.